So the big rain event I've been telling you about is it's come today. It's not raining terrible. It's just a little drizzle all day, which we need. We're in such a drought. But I think tomorrow we're going to get hit pretty hard. They're talking about 6 inches in an hour. So in yesterday's video I was telling you how that ditch over there is going to flood and it's going to run right into my well. So I've been trying to pull the leaves out of it, but as soon as I do, the wind blows them back in. So this video is going to be a vlog. It's going to be kind of all over the place, and it may not even be that long. So the starting to get chainsaws in. Now, I mean, we're not overly busy. I get still maybe one every week or two, you know, something to work on every week or two. I'm getting a lot of people just coming in and saying, hey, you know, I'd like you to work on my lawnmower, and then never show up. I had like 2 or 3 of those. Someone tell me they wanted me to work on their log splitter, said it needed a battery, and asked me where I got parts, so I told them, and they never showed up. So everybody I talked to tells me he just wanted to know where you get parts at. He was going to do it himself, which kind of makes sense. What I fear is I'm going to get a bad reputation by people who never use my service. They're going to have this expectation of something, you know, whether I have a shop or, you know, I'm supposed to go pick up his lawnmower. I think that's what that old man wanted. And you know, I've talked about this in the past, I mean, the manipulation of people. If he wanted me to pick up his lawnmower, all he had to do was say, do you do pickups and deliveries? And then I could have said yes, but he didn't. Instead, he said, do you have a trailer I can borrow? Which I don't have a trailer he can borrow, but even if I did, I wouldn't loan it to him. I don't know the guy. So again, people I've been talking to said he just wanted you to pick it up. What he was afraid of was he was going to say, oh yeah, I'll pick it up for, you know, 50 bucks. The other thing is everybody's wanting me to do these restorations, and I've decided I'm not going to do restorations because you can't find parts. I mean, I've watched these YouTube videos and they do restorations, and it kind of makes sense why. Here's the thinking. Let's say you have a garden tractor. Well, if you buy a brand new garden tractor today, it's going to cost you, well, at least that's what this YouTuber said, about $10,000. But if you do a restoration, you know, you have a mechanic do a restoration, it's going to be about $2,000. So it's a lot cheaper. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, I understand it. So I had the same guy who wanted me, he had 2 mowers, he had a Craftsman, and I don't understand what happened with that. He had the Craftsman, he said it won't go in reverse. It goes forward, won't go reverse. Which is one of 2 things. It's probably a bad belt. Most likely it is a bad belt. Or there's dirt or something in the linkage because it's a hydrostatic. So he wanted me to change the transmission fluid, which I said I can do, but you got to take the transmission off to do that, and that gets up in the cost, which is fine. Whatever you want to do. Oh no, I don't want to spend a lot. So that told me something. He didn't want to spend a lot. And then he talks about this wheel horse, and I said I don't do restorations. I jumped right in. He says, so I'm 2 for 2. What do you mean? So you're not going to do either one of them? Well, yeah, I'll do the Craftsman, but you don't want to change the oil. Yeah, I'll change the oil if you want me to. But I know I should change the oil on that one, and it was a drain plug, but most modern day hydrostatic transmissions, you have to take the transmission off, open it up, turn it over, then you got to open up the whole thing to get the filter out. But again, it can be done. And I said, but you know, I can still look at it and see if it's just a bad belt or a dirty linkage. So I thought he had decided that he wanted to do it, but then he says, why won't you work on the wheel horse? I said, well, I don't do restorations. And I said, what is it, 1970s? Yep, 1972. He says, it won't start. And he says, or it started and died or something, so it was a carburetor issue. I said, well, you just can't find parts. Well, it doesn't need parts. It's going to need something. You don't just wave a magic wand and it all of a sudden becomes fixed. You got to have something. If you're going to rebuild a carburetor, you still got to have all the gaskets and seals and floats and all those little components inside. You got to buy all those. And if they're not available, you got to go searching for them. junkyards and different things, and I'm just not going to do that because nobody wants to pay for it. You know, my travel time, one of the things that people get upset with is I buy things off Amazon instead of traveling the 20 or 30 miles to the, well, it's 40 miles to Home Depot to get parts from Home Depot and Lowe's. But they're not going to pay for the travel. They're not going to pay for the gas or the time that it takes me to go there. So I order off Amazon, and it takes about 7 days. Now, I have had customers understanding, and they said, well, tell me what I need to get, and I'll go get it. Sure, I'll be happy to do that. I can do that. But that's what they want to do. Belts and lawn. One person drove 60 miles to go get a belt and blades for his lawnmower. So, you know, if they're in a hurry, that makes sense. One guy, he did understand. I said, well, yeah, I can go over there and get it, but you know, it's going to cost, you know, and I kind of threw out a price. Oh yeah, time's money. I get it. Yep, you're right. And he went and got it also. I can't remember what that was though. But most people don't understand it. They want it done today, and they don't, you know, they don't want to wait for the parts. They don't want to pay for the travel. So anyway, for some reason he didn't think his 1972 wheel horse had been sitting in a barn. He literally said it's been sitting in a barn since 85 or 84 behind hay bales. And it's not going to need parts. Well, what if a mouse got in there and chewed everything up? Something's got to give. So yesterday, well, actually a few days ago, you saw that I I repaired two chainsaws, two Husqvarnas, and that went pretty well. Those Husqvarna hoses, the black hose, don't use black hose for fuel line. Use the yellow. The black disintegrates, and it just messes up the carburetor. And even if you put a new one in there, you're going to end up cleaning the carburetor again. And the yellow one will get brittle and break and leak, but it won't disintegrate. So use the yellow if you can. But anyway, guy would come over yesterday with two chainsaws, a pull and while thing, which I got down in the camper. I'm going to repair that one because I can find parts for it. But this is a Home Light. Now, Home Light was in business from, if I understand right, 1984 or 5 to 94. I think it was 94. So that was produced sometime in there. Now, I say in business, they've sold and done it, but this particular model was somewhere in between that date range. And I even told him when it came, I probably won't be able to find parts for it. So anyway, it was carburetor, it needs carburetor. And I've done everything I can, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, to see if I can fix this one without buying parts. I took it all apart, sprayed it all down, put it all back together, but I'm gonna have to buy a diaphragm, and there is no parts. You can't find them. So where do you go? You go on eBay. And eBay is so stinking expensive. So I found a carburetor. Now remember, I can buy an aftermarket carburetor for that Poland at $22. And it comes with fuel line, filters, air filters, fuel filters, spark plug. I can't remember. I mean, it comes with a bunch of stuff. But you go on eBay, you buy a carburetor. It's used. It's not used. This particular one was in a box, but of course he'd had it forever. And he wanted $50 for it. $55. Of course, I need to get some labor cost off of this, so it's $25 labor. And so I told the guy it's going to be 80 bucks to repair this antique. I know it's not probably antique, but vintage, whatever you want to call it, chainsaw. And there's things broken on it. This handle, there's a screw missing, and I would have to figure out how that gets assembled. There's something wrong, and I don't know exactly where it's at, but that would have to be fixed. There's a piece down here fixed, needs fixed, it's wired up. So just to make it safe, I mean, think about it, it kicks back on you. I don't know if I like that. And the other thing is, it doesn't have a safety on there. There's no safety, so that tells you how old it is. So he says, so it's 80 bucks, and I said, you know, what do you want to do? He says, well, is it worth it? You know, that's a subjective question. to me, it's not worth it. So I'm trying to figure out what is a good way to determine if it's worth it. First of all, it's the restoration. So if, you know, Grandpa gave this to you, 80 bucks might be worth it. But if you found it in a barn somewhere, probably not. So what I do is I go on Marketplace and I look for this particular model and see if I can find any. If I can't, then at least find the manufacturer, Homelight. So I typed in Homelight in Marketplace, and the best I could come up with was $40. That's what these were worth, $40. Now this is a relatively big one. It's 52 cc's. I mean, it's a good size one. But these were throwaways when I was growing up. My grandpa bought these. I remember he'd run them. He wouldn't take care of them. He'd kick them around, leave them outside. He'd just dump gas all over it. He really did not take care of these. But he'd buy a new one like every year. So they were just throwaways. I'm not sure a 52 cc would be a throwaway, but still, it was not one of the name brand ones. I think they made, well, I know they made Stihl back then, so you know that would have been a high price chainsaw. So I didn't think it was worth it. Now the other thing you could do is you could say, well, what's a new 52 cc chainsaw worth? And depending on, you know, this is a throwaway. If you get on Amazon, they got those Chinese chainsaws that kind of duplicate Stihl chainsaws. They're like 150 bucks. Or you can buy an off-name one, you know, like Poland or something. They're not expensive. So that is what I compared it to. It was kind of like a Poland or something to that effect. And I said, well, I don't think it's worth it to redo it. Now that's disappointing because I would like to be able to get the money for it. You know, it's only $25 or whatever I'm going to charge to replace the carburetor, but it's still money that I don't have and I would like to have it. So that's always a tough call. The other thing is does it upset the customer when you tell them that it's not worth it? I don't know. Customers are finicky. People are finicky. You never know what's going to upset somebody. And well, it just seems like anymore everybody's upset about everything. So he said, let's not worry about this one, but I am going to fix that Poland, the wild thing. I actually have one just like it, and I don't use it much. It's an antique too, or vintage. I bought it in, I think, 2001, but I don't use it at all. I've had to replace the hoses on it more than anything just because I don't use it. They dry up, the fuel lines. So he said I could keep this one, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Like I said, I took the carburetor apart. What I was going to do is if I got it fixed, if I got it running, I was just going to give it back to him for free. I wasn't going to give him any money for it, or, you know, have him charge. I wasn't going to charge him anything for it because I told him, you know, it's not worth it. That is the third criteria that I would worry about is, let's say I got it running, you know, cleaning it, and it stopped running again. Again, you can't find parts. So, you know, if I fixed it, got it running, I can't give any type of warranty on it because I don't know how long it's going to run. So I wasn't going to charge him. But the thing is, it probably needs new diaphragms in there. They're probably all, well, I didn't see any damage, but they're probably all dried up and not working well. So, got to have parts. But the old man says you don't need parts. Just wave your magic wand, I guess. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where it's working on something. So hope I can inspire you to work through the difficulties so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.